You'd never catch me at McDonald's these days, but I have no qualms with fast food. No, my boycotting of the hellhole beneath the Golden Arches started in my youth. I scarcely escaped that wretched place with my life. The year was 2008, and the man behind the cash register looked to be 3 times my height. Perhaps I've exaggerated that in my head. And though I say man, he must have been a teenager, possibly only a few years younger or older than me. To my fearful eyes, however, he loomed as tall as a giant. "Welcome to McDonald's," the cashier said, smiling. "May I take your order?" I was standing sheepishly next to my 2 friends from school, Mickey and Tom. They were giggling and nudging me, and I was plucking up the courage to fulfill the requirements of my dare. It had seemed so much easier when we were standing outside the premises. Standing before my intended victim, however, the devious plan had lost any semblance of humor. But if I'd back out at that point, I never would have heard the end of it from my friends. And social exclusion was the worst thing on earth for a boy that age. An innocent boy, I might add. I summoned the courage to say, "Yeah, I'll take a bag of fries as greasy as your face, please." Mickey and Tom guffawed like a couple of hyenas, but I just stood there silently as the acne-ridden teenager eyed me with a cold, solemn silence. He did not laugh, neither did I. And perhaps worse, he didn't chastise me for the rudeness either. He had nothing to say of my immature, ridiculous comment. When he did respond, I was not expecting the words from his lips. "One moment," he muttered before walking away. I turned to face my 2 friends, who had had tears welling up in their eyes. Thankfully, there was no one else in the restaurant. It was late in the evening, nearly closing time, no doubt. Nobody to witness that horrifying spectacle. The side door burst open like a resounding crash, slamming into the wall. The quiet teenager cashier was joined by a burly, bearded man with a badge that read "Manager." "Come at me, you terrors," the man roared, silencing my chuckling friends in a split second. Let's get out of here," Mickey said, gulping. The 3 of us ran for the door, hot on Mickey's heels, but our friend slammed face first into the glass and crumpled onto the floor. "It's locked," Tom cried. "What do we do?" "You 3 will come with me," the manager repeated, strolling over to us. "And we'll sort this out properly." "Thanks, Dad," the teenager chirped from behind him. I realized I'd messed up, but I didn't quite grasp the severity of my crime. Not until the burly father figure had rounded up we 3 rascals and ushered us into the preparation area of the restaurant. "What's your name?" he asked me. "Graham," I said. "Do you know what happens to children such as you, Graham?" the manager asked me. "I'm so sorry," I muttered. It was a dare." Tom snorted, but he quickly muffled his mouth with his hands when the manager shot a piercing look in his direction. "Something funny, boy?" the man asked, turning his attention to Tom. "No, it wasn't me. It was Mickey's idea," Tom spluttered. "What the heck, Tom? Snitch?" Mickey huffed. "So, Mickey," the manager said, walking over to my friend, "how did such a brilliant idea pop into that big juicy brain of yours?" Mickey's sturdy demeanor was starting to falter. We just thought it'd be funny." "Just thought it'd be funny, did you?" The manager chuckled. "Yes, well, so did my boy Jamie. He found it hilarious. Rushed to tell me about it, didn't you, Jamie?" The teenager hovered in a darkened corner of the preparation area, nodded quietly. "He's always laughing about his acne," the manager continued. "Isn't it funny that my face is greasy, Dad? He's always saying that." "Okay, sir, we understand," I whispered. "I'm really sorry for saying it. It wasn't funny at all." "Don't apologize to me," the man bellowed, suddenly bending down to my eye level. "Apologize to my boy." I started to cry, turning to the ever-silent, unwavering teenager in the corner. I'm sorry, Jamie. I'm so sorry." Jamie didn't say anything. He watched me with that same cold, unfeeling look. He nodded in acceptance of my words, however, and that lifted at least some of the horror I felt. I naively believed it to be over, the terror of being dragged into the preparation area. but I was wrong. "I believe you, Graham," the father said, nodding. "But I keep catching little Mickey and Tom snickering away into the palms of their hands. Are you two boys truly sorry, too?" Mickey rolled his eyes, and I felt my heart sink, but he nodded. Tom managed to stifle a laugh that I could sense desperately striving to escape his lips. But the manager wasn't buying any of it. I could see the deranged glint in his eyes. "You're not sorry, Mickey, are you?" the manager asked. And before my friend could answer, the towering father had seized him by the throat. Tom and I screamed in unison as our mischievous friend was hoisted from the floor, legs flailing wildly. "Let me go," Mickey croaked. "Let you go?" the manager laughed. "And waste that juicy brain of hilarious ideas? I'm curious, Mickey. Curious to know how such meat tastes." Before we could react, our tiny friend had been hurtled headfirst into the fryer. He screeched at an inhuman level, drowning out the screams of Tom and me. And though he writhed in the boiling liquid, scrambling for an exit, we knew that he was in a watery grave. The manager held him down, slowly frying our friend alive. I suddenly became aware of Jamie charging towards me, face still wearing a deadpan expression, but he slipped past me. I turned my head to see Tom running away, but the manager caught my other small friend before he even made it past the cash till. "Bring him here," the father growled, still holding down Mickey, but seemingly meeting less resistance from my slow-dying friend. "What do we make this one into?" Jamie asked. The father pondered. "I think Mickey would be a delicious Big Mac. Decadent meat, that brain of his, I'm sure. Little Tom here, he'd make some fine nuggets, I think. Look at him, he's only small." Realizing that I had seconds to save myself, my eyes darted to the fire exit I'd spotted when we first entered the staff area. Before the manager and his son could avert their attention to me, I ran. And I was one of the best track runners in my year, so you better believe me when I say those tiny legs could run. I'm sure I broke some form of record as I scurried to the door. "Stop him!" the manager yelled. But Jamie's arms were full of Tom, and I'd already pushed down the handlebar, opening the back door onto the McDonald's car park. I ran into the night, screaming for help, and a pair of dog walkers quickly stopped to check that I was okay. I explained the events of the night. The police were called, but the manager and his son had long fled the restaurant when authorities arrived. They were never caught, and to this day, I wonder whether they might still be out there, punishing children. That's why I'll never eat at McDonald's again. I first noticed him in the McDonald's drive-thru. I'd collect my order. I was driving away, and I happened to glance in my rear-view mirror. The man in the car behind me was wearing a full Ronald McDonald costume, and I might have found that slightly amusing or eye-rolling worthy if it hadn't been for the fact that he was watching me. And I mean really watching me, intently, with unblinking eyes. I gulped as I slowly drove away, too frightened to peel my gaze away from the rear-view mirror, as the clown continued to eyeball me from his driver's seat, seemingly ignoring the cashier who was trying to talk to him. My family found the whole ordeal hilarious when I relayed it back to them, and I tried to see the funny side of it, viewing the incident as an isolated thing, possibly some drunken partygoer's prank to unsettle a fellow driver. There was nothing insidious about the situation, so why didn't that explanation sit well with me? About a month later, I received a flyer through the letterbox, a flyer for McDonald's, and it was offering £100,000 to any customer who could solve a simple riddle. What glides but has no wings? You receive a McDonald's flyer in 2023? My son, Rick, asked, laughing. "I don't think that's official, Dad. No one delivers flyers anymore." "Frankie's shop does," my wife insisted, taking the flyer from my hands. Rick rolled his eyes. "Yeah, Frankie's shop, not McDonald's, a multi-billion-pound restaurant chain. It's probably a scam, Dad. Ignore it." I sighed. "Yeah, you're probably right." And quick Google search debunked the entire thing. So in the bin it went. And I didn't even think about the fast food chain for another couple of months. I took the kids there whilst my wife was on a night out. "I thought you were going to cook some fish and chips for us," Cindy, my daughter, said. "When have you ever seen Dad cooking?" Rick laughed. I don't know why either of you are sassing me, I said. It's McDonald's. Isn't that what your kids love? Or would you rather I pull the "we have McDonald's at home" card? Yeah, that's what you find funny, right? Please don't try doing memes, Dad, Cindy shuddered. Yeah, it's a bad look, boomer, Rick added. Boomer? I said, I'm 39 for crying out loud. We clambered out of the car and made our way into the restaurant, and while I ordered, Cindy rushed to the bathroom. The food had already arrived before she returned. What's taking her so long? I sighed. Girl stuff, Rick shrugged, tucking into his burger. Thanks for that intelligent sight, son, I said, standing up. I'm gonna go. Oh, there, she's done. Skipping gleefully towards us, my daughter waved a Happy Meal in her hands. Where did you get that? I cried. Your food is on the table. You didn't take that off the counter, did you? No, Dad, Cindy said, chuckling as she sat down with us. Ronald gave it to me. I sighed. Another one of your pranks, eh? Are you in on this together? Rick held up his hands. Don't look at me, big man. The kid's crazy. Okay, Rick, calm down and eat your burger. Cindy, where did you get that meal? I asked sternly. I told you, Ronald gave it to me, she insisted. That's not funny, Cindy, I said. If you've taken that box from the counter, then give it back. If you found it on the bathroom floor or something, then throw it away and eat the food I got you. Please, children, you're driving me crazy. This was meant to be a treat. Cindy sighed, opening up the box. Relax, Dad. I have room for both meals. My daughter's face suddenly whitened as she peered inside, and I snatched the Happy Meal away to find something sickening. A severed ring finger, and I recognized the wedding band, 21/02/2012, the date of my wedding. Bundling the children into the car, I frantically called my wife, but she wasn't picking up the phone. What's wrong, Dad? Rick said. Cindy threw up. What was in the box, Cindy? He asked. Don't answer that question, I barked as Cindy wiped the vomit from her lips. We're going straight to the police station to keep you safe, and... great. The car wouldn't budge. It started, but it felt as if it was stuck in quicksand, and the sinking feeling in my gut was confirmed when I clambered out of the car, finding all 4 of the tires punctured. I looked around at the empty car park, realizing that we were a solid mile out of town, and I wasn't taking my kids on foot in the dark. Okay, I guess I'll call them now, I said, dialing 999. Everything turned to black as the phone rang, and when it came around, my head was throbbing. I'd been bludgeoned with something, and I woke atop a multi-story car park, tied to a chair, and before me, screaming for help from my car, were my 2 children and my wife, and the vehicle was inching towards the edge of the high-rise car park. What glides but has no wings? A voice whispered. Eyes hazy and body aching, I turned to see a man in a full clown costume. Ronald McDonald. He was grinning with that same demented look in his eyes as a few months prior. Please, I begged, wriggling my restraints. Let my family go. Answer the riddle, the clown cackled. I don't know, I screamed, watching in horror as the car tumbled over the edge. There's your answer, Ronald roared triumphantly as the vehicle plummeted with a deafening crash. The manic man giggled into the night as he fled the scene, and it was an hour later that it was found by emergency workers responding to a car about a car wreckage at the bottom of the multi-story building. My family perished, and Ronald was never seen again. My name's Melissa, and I used to work at McDonald's. A story of not the restaurant itself, but a customer called. Dave, the man whispered softly. The name's Dave. He was an attractive man, beautiful smile, muscular build, and bright blue eyes. I might have actually liked him if it hadn't been for his personality. You see, he wasn't the first man to flirt with me, and that isn't a humble brag. It's a fact of life that women spend a healthy chunk of their time swatting off advances from unknown men. But the idea that we let it slide when the men are handsome, that's just nonsense. This guy unsettled me from the very beginning. Perhaps it might have been the way his unblinking eyes bore holes through my own as he offered his name, unprompted. It might have been what came next. Okay, Dave, I said, smiling uncomfortably. Your order number is 13. The number of days I will wait for you. He moaned, winking at me. I felt a little vomit rise in my throat, but I suppressed it, offering what I deemed to be the politest smile possible. Something that wouldn't antagonize the man, but also shouldn't suggest any sort of interest with him. The plight of being a woman. As it would transpire, no message I would have given could have deterred Dave. I asked one of my colleagues to take over for me, as I didn't want to interact with the unhinged gentleman again when he would collect his order. Ryan smiled and nodded, offering me a comforting look and a quiet promise that he would put Dave in his place, should the man make any additional comments. Do you know the name of that ravishing woman? Dave asked Ryan. She's not interested, sir. Thank you for ordering at McDonald's. No need to be rude, Dave interrupted, losing a little of his charm. I can see her hiding back there. Are you her boyfriend or something? Bodyguard? Sir, I'm going to have to ask you to leave. There are other customers waiting to be, and they will carry on waiting, Dave growled. Just give me her name. The manager, Sandra, caught wind of the situation and escorted Dave off the premises, under threat of the police being called, but the whole situation shook me up. Are you okay? Sandra asked. I nodded. Yep. Are you sure? You look a little pale, Sandra frowned. I can get someone else to cover your shift if you... I'm fine, I lied. I need the money, Sandra. I'll keep working. It'll take my mind off of it. Sandra sighed. Okay, well, he's gone now. Give me a heads up if he comes back. I won't hesitate to call the police. Thanks, Sandra, I said, returning to work. Ryan helped carry some of the load during my shift, and people kept checking on me to ensure that I hadn't been too badly shaken up. They were all very sweet, and plenty of my coworkers sympathized. We'd all had bad experiences like that before. It was nothing new, unfortunately, but the hair on the back of my neck was still standing to attention an hour or so later. I couldn't seem to get the adrenaline to flood from my body. I was stuck in a state of panic. Want me to walk you home? Ryan asked at the end of our shifts. I smiled. That's very kind, but it's half an hour out of your way. I don't mind. It means I get a little more exercise than usual, he said. I laughed. We need to get cars, don't we? Can barely afford a bus pass on this salary, Ryan said. I heard that, Sandra huffed from the distance. Love you, Sandra, Ryan shouted, turning to me as I giggled. Come on, let's get out of here. It's been a long shift. The tightness in my chest unknotted a little as Ryan walked me home. I put the earlier horror of the night out of my head a little, though I wish I hadn't. A rustling in the bushes startled me, but I ignored it, transfixed by Ryan's funny story. He had a way of effortlessly putting me at ease. He always had. I didn't know why we both danced around the obvious. We liked each other, and we both knew it. So silly, especially in retrospect. And then I squinted my eyes a little, channeling my inner Chris Evans, he said, flexing his muscles. I laughed. Okay, Captain London. Ouch. Not even Captain Britain? Ryan grasped. I'm not sure Captain America ever spent time fighting creepy men in restaurants, but I'm happy you're a small-town hero, caring about the little guy, I said, winking. You're more than the little guy to me. Wait, no, that came out weirdly. What I mean to say... Wait, did you hear that? Ryan asked, stopping in his tracks. Hear what? I asked, frustrated that Ryan had swerved the question I had been hoping he'd ask for months. It sounded like whistling, Ryan said, twisting his head to the bushes. Wait, oh my, Sammy, run. I didn't see what he saw until it was too late. The man leapt from the bushes and pushed Ryan into the road. I screamed, falling backwards, and watching as the two men scuffled in the road. I dipped my hand into my pocket, produced my phone, and rang 999. The police station was less than a mile away, and they promised they'd hurry, but I could only watch in horror as the large man overpowered Ryan, a scrawny teenager about 10 years younger than him. It all ended in seconds, a horrifying display of brutish villainy. The man's foot stomped down on Ryan's skull, squashing it as if it were a rotten piece of fruit. I shrieked in terror as the man turned his attention to me. He offered that ever-charming, ever-terrifying smile, just as calm as unfaltering as it had been in a McDonald's. Sammy, he groaned, panting like a wild animal, you and I shall make the most beautiful babies. We will. Dave stopped speaking and turned to face the blue and red lights approaching from the far end of the road. Shrieking like some alien creature, he sprinted into the foliage beside the road and disappeared into the night. He was never caught by police officers. To this day, I live in fear of him finding me.